This is Steve Cochran, and this is live from my office. Now, scheduled today, I was going to talk to Bill Leff, the very funny Bill Leff, my friend and yours, Bill Leff, doing his brand new project on MeTV. We're going to do that next week because in light of the events in D.C., I'm guessing you've been thinking about your family and our country's future. I know I have. And I believe for my family and kids and grandkids, we're all going to survive this. And there's reason for hope. We really don't have any other choice than hope. And trust me, America has survived so much and will survive this as well. With all that said, you're tired. I'm tired. I get it. And maybe you think I've cracked under the stress of 2020, but no, I am very serious when I say we all owe Donald Trump a huge thank you for what he's done. And maybe even a run through his many accomplishments. So, when we come back, an open letter to Donald Trump. Live from my office, sponsored by David Hochberg and Team Hochberg. What is Team Hochberg? Well, powered by Homeside Financial. Been doing loans since 2000, licensed to provide mortgage lending services across this great country of ours. Team Hochberg really makes the process simple. All you have to do is grab a couple of pieces of your own paperwork, stuff that you should have in a particular place anyway. And don't make him call you 11 or 12 times to get that. Just do your part. They'll roll with it, and they're going to be able to save you a whole bunch of money. They have dedicated in-house support staff that, of course, includes underwriters and closing folks. And you're not going to get some closing scam when you work with David Hochberg and Team Hochberg. It's not some teaser thing that comes in. If he says he's going to help you with closing costs, he's going to help you with closing costs. He's going to get you the lowest possible number, and you're going to feel better about it because you're going to get a great rate, and you're going to deal with somebody who's going to be just as thrilled as you are that you got that great rate, because that's why he goes to work. He goes to work because he's got plenty. Let me tell you something. He's got plenty of money. He goes to work so he can now be the guy to help you get over the hump. There's a million scenarios of things that have happened, and he knows all of them. So here's the deal. Don't be embarrassed. There's nothing you can tell him that he hasn't heard already. It's David Hochberg and Team Hochberg, 855-56-DAVID or 56david.com. This is an open letter that I'm calling Thank You, Donald Trump. You know, it seems to be obvious that time is fleeting, but before you go, Mr. President, and you will go, I wanted to put my feelings about you in writing and recognize all of your accomplishments. Thank you, President Trump, for your spectacular display of selfish, Olympic-level irresponsible behavior. You like nicknaming things, right? So let's call it what it is. The Capitol riots of Donald Trump. Or maybe just Donald Trump's riots. Look, this was your fireworks finale of stupidity. 5 dead, including a U.S. Capitol police officer. By the way, that could hurt your self-proclaimed title of the law and order president. Many more were hurt. Terrorists broke and entered and attempted to destroy the Capitol and commit some half-ass coup. All because you convinced them of your little fairy tale that the election was a fraud. A literal impossibility. But they bought it because you told them to. And then you turned them loose to attack the U.S. Capitol, a primary symbol of our democracy. And when you were needed to step up, when things were so clearly out of hand, you didn't even bother to listen to the people around you to call out the National Guard. The governor of Maryland, on the record, tried for 45 minutes to an hour before Vice President Pence, who you've thrown under the bus after he has been a good doggy for years, Pence had to save the day. By the way, the only other attack like this on the Capitol was when the Brits did it in the War of 1812. They, by the way, were dressed a whole lot better. I'm almost positive none of them were shirtless with horns. So thank you, Donald Trump, for setting the standard as the first, the worst, and the last president to incite a riot so that we make sure it never happens again. Thank you, President Trump, for your complete lack of interest in your own job. The greatest job in the world that you were given the privilege to do. But you didn't do it, did you? The presidency was nothing more than transactional. Scam as much money as possible and feed your ultimate drug, attention, You never read the PDB. That's the Presidential Daily Brief, which tells us about all the people in the world who want to kill us. That wasn't important enough for you, I guess. Never paid attention to meetings. Never used your office to consult with the greatest minds in the world on any issue. Look, I'm 1,000% positive. You never read anything you signed. So thank you, Donald Trump, for never fully grasping what you could do as president of the United States. Sure, you could have done good, but that's not what you do. Because you had no interest, at least you never did all the bad that you could have done. Thanks to you, we now know beyond any doubt we cannot elect a celebrity who, quote, says what he thinks ever again. You know, speaking of experts, thank you, President Trump, for not using and respecting any of them because you always thought you knew better. Sure, you recommended a Clorox cocktail or two, but incredibly, if you'd been more closely involved with the COVID task force, I have no doubt you would have ruined the vaccine race, and even more people would have died. So despite the horror of your ignoring COVID to protect yourself, you literally could have made it worse. Thank you for making this clear. A know-it-all blowhard with no respect for anybody else's knowledge? Never again. Thank you, President Trump, for your mountain of lies, 25,000 plus and counting. You made us all realize and remember how much we hate being lied to, how different you were from the normal every politician lies to us politician. You made us realize how damaging these lies are, and with every single day, your symphony of bullshit chipped away at those people that voted for you, trusted you, and put their faith in you. And those lies helped make sure they weren't going to vote for you again and that you wouldn't be elected again. So thank you, Donald Trump, for making this perfectly clear. Character matters. And for future reference, we can't elect a terrible person with no shame or conscience and no concern about anyone but themselves. Not ever again. And thank you, President Trump, for creating unprecedented interest in politics. Your endless neediness, your sickening love of chaos, it's all made those with no interest in government now highly involved citizens willing to stand up and be heard. And by the way, I don't mean the animals you encouraged and released on the rest of us, but thanks to you, we now know who they are and mostly where they are. We have identified the worst of us. Will we ever elect a psychopathic narcissist? No, never again. Look, I know this barely scratches the surface of all the awfulness of you, Donald Trump, but you're going to be gone soon. The rest is up to us. Will we continue to pick sides and not listen to any views that don't match our own? Well, how could that end well? The criminals are not our big problem. The far right and far left, that's what's driven us apart. That's the problem we must address. The thing you never got is this. This is America. Here, you're not always right, but you're not always wrong either. See, that's what makes America great. I believe we will stay engaged. I believe we're going to hold those we elect accountable more now than ever. I know this, we need to assume less and learn more. And we must stop spreading lies online, and that's going to be a lot easier when you're gone. As for you, I think your destiny's clear. You will be forgotten by most. And most who remember, or they're going to wish they could forget. So goodbye, Donald Trump, and good riddance. It doesn't seem to cover it, but for now it's going to have to do. Signed, Steve Cochran. And I thank you for listening. Live from my office, always sponsored by the great people at Team Hochberg, and specifically David Hochberg. I've known David for a long time. As I've said to you before, if you listen, I am the one that uses David Hochberg, and I mean that in a positive way. I am the one who told my sister to use David Hochberg. She's done it twice now. I am the one that had my daughter use Team Hochberg to buy her first house, and she's in the middle of refining right now. And believe me, in the WGN days, just about everybody in the building asked for help from David Hochberg. Now, what is Team Hochberg? Team Hochberg is a team that he assembled of the best people in the mortgage and money businesses. And these folks are ready to help you. It's simple. You go on the website at 855-56-DAVID. You can get a free rate quote request in right there. Or pick up the phone and call them at 855-563-2843. That's 855-56-DAVID or 56david.com. It's that easy. Go to the website, poke around there a little bit, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Again, I use David Hochberg. I will again. And part of Team Hochberg is a whole collection of experts to help with your money. We all just, let's be honest, we don't know money. We don't know money. He knows money. He knows money. He knows the people who know how to do anything related to making your house more livable, more fun, and really everything you want it to be. I mean, it's not like one of those HGTV shows. He's not going to have a tool belt and a hammer. But he's going to come in and he's going to hammer away. I know I'm better than that at making sure you have the best rate on your mortgage or your refi. He can also bring in his credit enhancement expert. He can talk to the folks that can help you with whatever remodeling you might want to do. He's got everybody. He knows everybody. So make sure you get on it. Team Hochberg, 56David or 56david.com. 855-56David or 56david.com. Before we go, as always, we bring you a charitable organization in need and worthy of your dollars. This is feedingamerica.org. I feel like I've mentioned this before. I don't have my full list in front of me, but it's certainly worthy of mention again. More people have lost their jobs in the past 30 days. Unemployment, still a gigantic problem. The two economies of America mean that one side, and there's a lot more people in that side, are hungry like ever before. Edit, are hungry like never before. Feeding America tries to solve that problem by hooking up with local food banks around the country. As COVID-19 continues, they can tell you how to donate food to food banks, and they certainly are happy to take your contributions. Your money will be well spent. I guarantee it. 4-star rated by Charity Navigator. The website, it's easy, feedingamerica.org. As always, I encourage you to do your research, but I fully endorse feedingamerica.org, and I hope you can help. So we press forward, we say a few prayers, and we hope for better days. I do believe they are on the horizon. Let's have Congress do their jobs. Let's stop talking about what's on the table, and let's do the right thing in our own personal lives and insist that the people you elect do the right thing in your state capital and in D.C. Thanks for listening. Thank you, Ross Cochran, for putting this all together, and we'll see you next time on Live from My Office.
Thank you for listening to Live from My Office, a service of Monkey Run Productions. All rights reserved. The podcast is hosted by Steve Cochran, and it's mixed, edited, and produced by me, Ross Cochran. Support the show by subscribing wherever you're listening and by telling your friends about it. Follow Steve on all social media channels, including Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And make sure you check out this episode's show notes for relevant information discussed during the conversations. You can also email the show directly at thecochranshow@gmail.com with any questions or comments. And that's the best place to tell us about your favorite nonprofit so we can make sure we mention them on the next episode. Steve is available for corporate speaking gigs. He would love to MC your event. And occasionally, he's funny. Thank you for listening. Head to cochranshow.com for more.